Hi, and welcome to the Bold Leadership Story Show, where we learn the experiences that are shaping exceptional lives. We share the best stories that include facing challenge, risk, fear, and uncertainty that ultimately leads to a life lesson for you to embrace. And the best part is we get to experience these bold leadership stories from the leaders who built them. It starts with a story that inspires a big dream. That dream flows over time into an amazing victory. In the middle are bold leadership stories that we love to share. Hi, I'm Jim Miller, your host and founder of Bold Leadership Stories Media. Today, I have the pleasure of hosting our second show with Miss Kimberly Davidson.
Hello.
Hello, Kimberly. I'm going to read just a little bit of your bio.
Okay.
So Kimberly is the Economic Development Director and Public Information Officer of the City of Wildomar. She's responsible for business attraction, business retention, business growth, and communicating information to the public. Among many notable awards for promoting business in the Temecula Valley, Kimberly was awarded Women of the Year in 2016 for the 67th District by Assemblywoman Melendez. Kimberly was also named Citizen of the Year in 2014 by Murrieta Chamber of Commerce. She received a Power to the People Award by Assemblywoman Melendez in 2014 and was recognized by the Murrieta Chamber of Commerce as one of the 40 under 40 movers and shakers in the Valley in 2013. Kimberly was a national award recipient in 2008 for the Home-Based Business Champion of the Year from the U.S. Small Business Administration for unfaltering passion to help home-based businesses in the Temecula Valley. Kimberly has held many board and organization management positions over the years, and she holds a Bachelor of Arts in Journalism from California State University, Northridge, as well as a leadership certificate from California State University, San Marcos, and from Corona Chamber of Commerce, Norco College. She resides near Wildomar with her two daughters, along with several rescued dogs and cats. Yeah, so I'll stop that. And hi, Kimberly.
Hi there. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm glad you could join me on the Bold Leadership Story Show today. So I wanted to just kind of start out by, thank you for joining me and just kind of chat a little bit about what you've got going on now. What are the leadership aspects of your world at this point?
Well, I guess sometimes you don't really feel like a leader. You're just doing your day-to-day job. And, maybe at some point you turn around, usually it's on social media or something, you realize that you have a following and you go, oh, maybe I'm leading these people. I don't know. Cause I don't know that everyone feels like everyone who is a leader doesn't necessarily feel like a leader every day, right? We're really just trying to do our job and make the world a better place, whatever that means for our piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I've always had the goal for the past 20 or so years to make Riverside County, Southwest Riverside County, a better place for my children. Certainly once you have children, your focus changes a bit and
Mm-hmm.
it's not about you.
How old are your kids now?
They are 13 and 14 girls.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it's an awesome age.
please pray for me. No,
Yeah.
they're great kids. And they go to school in Murrieta and, but I feel like when you have kids and we were kind of talking about it earlier, once you have children and especially maybe when you're a mom and you have that baby growing inside of you, you start to realize that some of our food choices aren't awesome. Some of the opportunities around aren't awesome. And you want to better that and you want to better that for this human that you're bringing into the world. And for me, that's really what it was about. And, I had always had the goal of being a stay-at-home mom. That was kind of what I thought I wanted to do. And I did go to college. I did get my college degree. But to be honest with you, I thought, all right, that's just going to help me get a better husband so that I can stay home and be a stay-at-home mom. And right around the time that I was pregnant with my first daughter, who's now 14, I started my own marketing company from home. And the idea behind that was to be, have a kind of a home-based small business. Maybe even at that point, it was more of a hobby so that I could stay home with her and, still have something to do and something to contribute to the community. And so I started that, and that was around the time that I won that national SBA award. And I thought, maybe I know what I'm doing here.
All right.
Maybe I had suspected that it was a needed, because see, back in that time, if you kind of go back to the 2005, 2006 timeframe, there were a lot of course, there were advertising and marketing agencies that were around, but a lot of them were not necessarily geared to the small business owner. They were geared more to the medium to large. They were larger agencies that were very costly, and they weren't geared towards the small business, especially the small business that we have here in Southwest Riverside. And so I saw a need there. The specific need that I saw was, to be honest with you, when I would go to get my nails done. And when you go to get your nails done, oftentimes English is not their first language, and there was a lot of typos on their on their menu board, and it would pain me a lot because I thought, gee, if these people are struggling even with just general language barriers, how did they know how to set up their business? How are they getting the word out? And this is a little bit before Facebook, maybe before businesses were really using Facebook as a means of advertising. And so I just thought, if you take that kind of the English as a second language type of nail salons and those types of smaller businesses that we have here in town, who's helping them was my thought. Okay. And so when I started my marketing company in 2006, that is what I was geared towards, not necessarily nail salons per se, but that super early startup, maybe even that minority startup that doesn't know the rules of engagement here, that has no idea where to go to get help and that sort of thing. So that was really how I had gotten started with that. And then around that time was when I won the Small Business Champion of the Year award from the National SBA, which was really cool. And that was really my first.
How did they get word of you? What was it that led up to that?
So they hold them every year. I've seen the emails going out. They might have stopped a little bit during COVID. I think we lost track of a lot of things during the shutdown, but it was actually our local SBDC. It was Paul Nolta that nominated me for that category. And then once you're nominated for that category, I'm sure they vet you, or I'm not sure, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure, but I did get a nomination from either Paul Nolta or from, and if you don't know Paul Nolta, he heads up the SBDC office for, he's located with the Temecula Valley Chamber now.
Okay.
And he provides a lot of really great business help. But so I had received something from the SBA saying that I had been nominated, and could I please supply them with, it's like, just like when you get nominated from the chamber or anything else, you got to supply them with, here's what I've been working on, here's why maybe I should get this award, right? And so I gave him that. Well, what I didn't know was, because you submit it regionally, and that's our Santa Ana office is our SBA office. Right. It rolls in the background. Once you win the regional, you go on to state, and all of this goes without you realizing it. You just keep moving through the system as you win. Okay. And so I hadn't really heard anything. And then next thing I know, I got a letter from the national SBA saying I had made it all the way to the nationals. It was actually a national award. And it was the day I brought my daughter home from the hospital. Oh, wow. So I was a brand new mama. And I think the letter might have even been sitting there for a couple of days while we were otherwise busy at the hospital. And so when we got home, I actually kind of thought it was a hoax at first, because you get something from Washington, D.C. that says,
it's like, whoa, where'd this come from?
Small Business Administration.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I mean, that's a huge organization.
It was. And had it not been, I just had gotten home from the hospital with my daughter. And so I was not able to go to Washington, D.C. to get that award, which was very unfortunate, because I guess it's the president of the United States that hands it to you, which would have been obviously really cool. But I wasn't able to go and do that. And so the Murrieta, it was just the Murrieta Chamber back then. It wasn't the Murrieta Wildomar Chamber. That happened later on. So the Murrieta Chamber felt really bad that I was not able to go and accept that award in DC. So they added me into their award ceremony that year in 2008. And I think that was also the same year that I got the Chairman's Choice Award. It was a great year. It's like, what's going on? And like I said, that was kind of my first clue that maybe I'm doing something right. And what is it that I'm doing that beat out all the other people across the nation for this particular award, right? It just causes you to maybe take some pause and go, gee, maybe I'm doing something, maybe I'm providing a service that's needed. And so
what came about with that introspection? It'd be very interesting to learn that.
Well, at the same time, actually, because nothing happens in a vacuum, at the same time, I was actually, one of the things that I did learn about myself is I am not a great work from home person.
Okay.
I like to be around people. And yes. I didn't know that prior to that because I had never had the opportunity to work from home. And it's not to say that I can't work from home for 2 years during the pandemic. I need to temper that with going out to meetings and being around people. I've got to be around people. So while I can sit down and focus for a bit and get work done, I need to then I just need to be around people is my whole thing. So around that same time that I won that award, I was really starting to feel like I wanted to go back to a job, not work from home, not have my own company, but go and have coworkers. I was missing coworkers.
Okay.
I wanted to go, when I go get a cup of coffee, when you work from home, I guess you can talk to your dog, right? But yeah, when you go get a cup of coffee at work, there might be a coworker hanging out in there and you chat. Oh, I watched this movie last night, and I missed that interaction so much. So,
and this was before Zoom, right?
This was before Zoom. So this was in 2008. Yeah, this was in 2008.
Not that Zoom is a replacement for that. Definitely isn't a replacement.
No, but you're right. It is a connection. And it was also before we really used again, it was, all of this was sort of up and coming. But Facebook, social media can be a great way to keep track of people too. And we all learned this during the shutdown and that sort of thing. But there is no replacement for that actual interaction. And some of it, some people are introverts and they could work from home for days and never miss people. Right. That's not me. I need that, go get that cup of coffee, chat with a coworker about what movie you saw last night or whatever. So I had said to my then husband, I need to go find a job, but I didn't want to lose. I had worked so hard getting to know a lot of our community leaders. And so I didn't want to just go back to what I had been before, which was in the marketing department of really a B2B type of company. So I was never in a forum where we belonged to the chamber or we did any kind of mixers or anything like that, because it just wasn't their format. So I knew that I didn't want to go back to just a B2B format. And so I really thought, I should probably look at either working for a chamber of commerce or a city government. But to be honest with you, I really didn't even know if someone at a city government like me existed. What am I going to do at a city government? But those were kind of my focal points because I wanted to maintain that community, all the community partnerships and friendships that I had already, spent years creating and nurturing. Mm-hmm. Didn't want to just go back to losing all of that. So wouldn't you know, around the same time, Murrieta posted for a business manager position that they hadn't had a position like this in 4 or 5 years at the city of Murrieta. So it was just one of those, you put it out to the universe and the universe will respond. And so I was actually on the City of Murrieta's website because we were trying to plan some workshops through the Murrieta Chamber. And at that time, I was on a lot of the committees at the Murrieta Chamber. So I was on their website, I think, looking for who it would be that I would connect. It ended up to be Bruce Coleman, who ended up to be my boss for 8 years. And so anyways, when I looked at their job posting, it read like my resume.
Very good.
It was pretty much like, my first thought was, did they steal my resume and put it up there? Because it was really almost just verbatim. And obviously, where this story is going. I worked for the city of Murrieta for 8 years. And when I started with Murrieta, the whole thing with my my husband at the time was, he said, okay, go back to work. Because we had the game plan of me being a stay-at-home mom this whole time. He wanted that as well. His mom had been a stay-at-home mom. This is what we both wanted for our children. And when I started working at the City of Murrieta, the goal was I was going to work there for no more than 2 years.
Yeah.
And so I
didn't happen.
No, I didn't pay too much attention to even the retirement package or anything like that when I got hired. And it was quite a thing because they had about 200 applicants for that position. They narrowed it down to about 5, and it was a pretty extensive. We had interview panels, and it was quite the big deal back then. Because like I said, Murrieta had not hired for this sort of position in years. Mm-hmm. And so, and it was, a fairly good paying government job with a lot of good benefits. That was local. And back then, the Murrieta Temecula area, we were still struggling to build up that job base, which we still are to this day. But you can imagine how back in 05, 06, it was even more so, in 07.
Yeah, I remember.
And yeah, so anyways, I ended up getting the job, and it just so happened, because again, it's whatever you want to say, a universe thing, a God thing, you put it out there. And what had happened was, because remember I said I was contacting the City of Murrieta because we wanted to put on some workshops, and I ultimately ended up scheduling a workshop, and it was a really cool workshop. And this was in November of 08, right as we were heading into a recession. Mm-hmm. And we all were seeing the writing on the wall at that point. So I hosted a workshop at the City of Murrieta where I was the marketing person. I had a CPA, a lawyer, talking about when to incorporate, trying to think of who else. So it was kind of all the aspects of how to start a business and get out of your home office. Okay. And I was putting that on. As it turned out, the workshop was the exact same day as my interview at the City of Murrieta. Okay. And so when I was in the interview, they said, "Are you putting on a workshop downstairs later?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Why?" I said, "Well, why? Because our businesses need it. They need this information." And they said, "Well, who's paying you?" I said, "No one's paying me." And they said, "Well, why are you doing it?" I said, "I'm doing it because the businesses need help." And they said, "But you're doing it for free." And I remember they even said, "But who put you up to this?" And I'm like, "No one put me up to this." And they said, it was a really funny conversation, because then I started panicking, because I thought they didn't like the idea, so I was like, where are these questions coming from? But what I found out later is no one had really been doing this at that time in the Valley, I guess. And so they were floored. And so anyways, I couldn't have planned it out better if I had tried. And of course I don't even think when I had started planning the workshop that I even knew that I was going to apply for that job. So it all just came together all at the same time. So the workshop was a huge success. We had about 100, maybe more, maybe 115 people in the Murrieta Council chambers. It was awesome. That's a great turnout. Yeah, it was a really great, especially for that time. And as we were heading into a recession, and Murrieta just had never seen, they had told me that night, they had never seen a turnout like that. And the city manager at the time even came down and was looking for, "Who's Kimberly Davidson?" And I thought, oh, maybe I'm in trouble. But and then I started to panic, because I thought, well, now why would they hire me to do this when I'm obviously doing it for free? Maybe I just really killed that. Yeah. And I did it. So I got the job, and I absolutely, to this day, I mean, I'm still doing the same thing now for Wildomar. I ended up working for Murrieta for 8 years. Then I went to the city of Corona doing the same type of job for 3 years. And like you read earlier from my bio, my job is to attract business into the city and then do what I can to keep it here. And that's obviously a big umbrella of opportunity of, well, what does that mean, Kimberly? Well, that means anything you can think of underneath that umbrella. So
that's a big job. And and you bring so much energy to it. I've had the opportunity to kind of see you at work in your environment, and it's fun watching you because your energy is really high and you just have this passion for what you're doing. Plus the
Thank you.
experience that you've got, that you've actually started a business and were successful with it, which is, phenomenal in and of itself. Especially at that time, a marketing company, it was like there was no digital marketing back then. There was no Facebook, there was nothing. So you had to compete with the big guys and do it really inexpensively and cater to the small companies and come up with a brand new format to do that. It sounds like
Yep.
at that time.
And I would say that just about every company, because remember they were very, very small, and
Yeah.
just getting started. And
So how do you capitalize that? I mean, how do you charge? What do you do? How do you bring that to bear to actually produce a business, create a business that's viable?
So more often than not, and a big part of the reason why I got that SBA award is because I would do a lot of things pro bono for the businesses.
Okay.
What we would do is, because they would come to me, and I kid you not, just about every single business that would sit down with me, their first sentence would be, "I have no money for marketing."
Right.
And I was like, "Oh,
that still happens."
Well, good. Who gave you my number? I'm so glad you called me. But to your point, the reason why I was doing this was because of what I didn't realize at the time was a deep-seated passion to see these business owners succeed. And so what I would say to them is, okay, here's going to be the deal. I can't do any hard costs for you. You're going to have to pay for your business cards. You're going to have to pay, and we would work out a deal where they would get what they could now and come back to me later. And every single one of them came back to me.
Yeah.
And or came out in force when I went after that job in Murrieta and said, you need to hire this gal. She is the person that she says she is. And I could, and they would say, like, she did a lot of free work for me. She didn't know me from anybody. And she did a lot of free work for me because she wanted me to succeed. So it's paying it forward like that has never been a bad thing. It always works out. And so what ended up happening was, after working for the City of Murrieta for about 2 years, I came home one day and said to my husband, "I'm not quitting." And he said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, wait a minute. What about our goal for you to be a stay-at-home mom?" And I said, I know now that this is what I was put on this earth to do. And when you discover the reason why you're here, or at least one of them, I mean, I hope it's not the only reason why I'm here, but when you discover your purpose, you're not just going to quit. And I'm so thankful that I did discover that purpose, because what if I hadn't, and I had been a stay-at-home mom, and no offense to stay-at-home moms whatsoever. It's in fact, I would always tell people, I have less work to do dropping my kids off and coming into City Hall. And if I had stayed home, it's a tall order to stay home with them every day. But my point being that not knowing your purpose, I would have known something was missing, and I wouldn't have known what that was. So I'm very thankful that I was able to discover that and live it. And here we are 14 years later. And in fact, I think it was 12/15 08 was the date that I started at the City of Murrieta. Wow. So we're almost exactly 14 years, to the day. And so I didn't quit. And it was like, well, what about the kids? And I said, well, you know what? The kids are going to be fine. And they are. And throughout the years, they've been so proud of the work that I do. And I know when they were in grade school, they're teenagers now, so they're probably not proud of anything I do at the moment. But
yeah, they are. But they won't tell you.
They do. When they were in grade school, their teachers would pull me aside and say, your girl said something like, oh, my mommy probably can't do that because she's very busy at City Hall doing important things for people. So they would say things like that to the teachers over the years. And so I know that they've been very proud. So the kids are okay. And I think actually they're better for it, because like I said, if I had stayed home with them and known something was missing in my life, I don't know that I would have been a full person to them. So I'm very thankful of how it all turned out, and the opportunities and the businesses that I've been able to help and the people I've met. And I think, you know, too, Jim, we've started in, gosh, what year was it? 2015 or 2016? It must have been 16. We started Innovation Month in Riverside County, and I was part of that with the County of Riverside. And what an opportunity to hold the Shark Tank-like events and find out what
I love those.
entrepreneurs are working on here in our valley, and to give them the opportunity to get the word out about their startup companies and their ideas, and just the knowledge base that we have here, and the things that people are working on, and the ideas that people have, to be part of that, really building up this community and getting people to realize. And, you know, when we started Innovation Month, one of our main goals, kind of the first goal that would be apparent to everybody, is let's let the outside world know what's going on in Riverside County, right? We wanted Orange County to go, oh, you guys do have business over there. You do have, but more so actually was to get Riverside County to understand how much we have going on here.
Okay.
There was definitely an internal
hey!
Yeah, there was definitely an internal marketing factor that was missing from everybody's kind of agenda. And it was apparent to some of us in those leadership positions that there was almost even, I don't know if it would be so strong to say as an embarrassment, but there sort of was, that people would say like, oh, I had to move to Riverside County because I couldn't afford Orange County anymore, or San Diego County. And we kind of went, hey, wait a minute, we're just as good, if not better, than some of those other counties. We have more opportunity here. We have a lot of different areas that speak to different incomes and different opportunities. And we have UC Riverside. I mean, we have a lot going on here, but we hadn't been doing our own internal marketing. So we realized that, and we kind of went, shame on us. If we haven't been telling the story, then how do we know anyone? How do we expect anyone to know the story and internalize the story, right? So,
so how do you manage that now? How do they manage that now?
Well, that was a big reason why we started Innovation Month in Riverside County, and then Manufacturing Month, which is October, to really promote and tout the innovation and job opportunities that we do have here in the Valley. We're not done. I mean, we've only just begun, you know. We started in 16 or 17, really working harder to tell that story and getting the residents of Riverside County to start to embrace a sense of pride of being here, and to let the world know that you live in Riverside County and we have a lot of opportunity here, and to embrace that opportunity. We just weren't doing a good job of messaging that prior to that time frame. And so making a more deliberate attempt to do that through the things, you know, like the Innovation Month, Manufacturing Month, our local EDC, and just a lot of the different type of business events that we do have going on here. Around the same time, by the way, back in 06, 07, I was on the board of directors for the American Marketing Association.
Okay.
They, with my company, and they would meet up in Riverside. We'd actually meet at the Victoria Club up in Riverside. So that's deep Riverside, you know, that's Riverside, right? Beautiful golf club, but they would never come down here. And I would say to them, you know, we have a lot of marketing companies and advertising agencies and whatnot down in the Murrieta Temecula area. Why can't we go down there? And they would say, there's none. So I ended up leaving them and starting my own marketing networking group called Marketing Matters. And I was consistently getting more people to my marketing networking group than the American Marketing Association was getting theirs.
Yeah.
And so it just goes to show you that there's always been sort of a stigma that we've been really working hard to fight against, that we don't have any business in this area. We don't have good business in this area. We don't have enough business in this area, whatever the case may be. So we've been working really hard to not only build up that business community and make it something that we're proud to promote, but then also making sure that we are doing the job of promoting it and letting people know that it's here. It's still there. We have people all the time that will look at, they live here. They'll look at Orange County or San Diego County for a job because they don't realize that there are great jobs here. And
Mhm.
again, we're still working on it. So anybody listening to this, know that I know that we're still working on it, but we're working on it every day. And we've come a long way in 14 years and 15 years. We've come a long way. And but people just tend to not even look. And the thing is too, there is still a gap between what you can make here and what you'll most likely make in Orange County or San Diego. However, a lot of people don't do the math of the commute time, the cost of the commute. Really, when you add a lot of that stuff in.
Yeah, the time, the wear and tear on the car, everything that, the meals, everything, and then the loss of time from your family.
Family, right?
It
And so
is
the gap
huge.
starts to really get very close in what you can make here and live and work close to where you live, as opposed to that commute time and that extra commute cost. And I'll tell you, when I took the job at the City of Corona, I've always lived in Murrieta. I live in downtown Murrieta.
Mhm.
And when I took that job at the City of Corona, doing what I do for a living, I thought that I had accurately figured out, I mean, gas prices are always fluctuating, so good luck figuring that out. But, I thought I had added everything in, and to tell you the truth, I hadn't come close. So really, even though Corona paid me more than Murrieta, it was a break-even type of situation because I was spending so much. I couldn't come home for lunch.
Mhm.
Working for the city of Wildomar now, I can come home for lunch. That you start adding that up when you absolutely cannot because you work an hour away. It adds up, and
Yep.
those are costs that you don't really think about. And the time away from my children, I was leaving by 7 every morning, and I was not back before 7 at night. So that was 12 hours gone.
Yeah.
And then when we would get home, I had 2 babies, pretty much at the time. And I had about 2 hours to make dinner, get them bathed, get them into bed. They didn't have a whole lot of homework back then because they were like in 3rd and 4th grade, something like that. But
Mhm.
still homework, the nanny would help them with homework.
Yeah.
But I missed a lot too. I wasn't there for things that the nanny was there for. So um, that's priceless. How do you add that into? So we just need to do a better job too of getting people to understand that there is a value to not commuting, and what does that value mean to you, and how does that equate into what type of job that you can get here in Southwest Riverside County. So
Mhm.
we're still working on how we can best message that and get people to think in terms of that, and always working, like I said, to keep adding in those jobs, encouraging manufacturing to come here, encouraging those high-end jobs and vocational CTE type of jobs. So happy to be part of a larger team that is working on that every day here in this valley, because my goal is when my girls head off to college, wherever that is, or a vocational, career technical education type program. I want them to be able to come back here and have a job here,
Mm.
because that doesn't always happen. It's been something that we've struggled with in this valley for a long time. And
Yeah.
we're
People
working to
leave.
change that. But, like I said, to start out with, when you have children and suddenly the focus becomes not on you, it's how can I make this valley a better place? And my job at the City of Murrieta, my marketing job, the job at Murrieta, the job in Corona, the job in Wildomar, those are just a means to an end of how can I make this valley a better place and make it somewhere that people are proud to call home and proud to hold a job here and be able to afford all of the benefits that we have of living in Southwest Riverside County, right next to a beautiful wine country. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of benefits to living here. So I'm just proud to be part of that whole action team trying to make that happen.
That's great. It's a wonderful place to live. I've been here for almost 25 years. So it's raised our 2 kids here, 2 daughters, and it's been wonderful. But daughters are both gone now. I mean, one's in Corona, or I'm sorry, one's up in Cherry Valley area, and then one's down in Carlsbad. So they're not too far away,
Not
but
too far.
it's they're not here, so it'd be really cool if they were able to stay here, but just not able to.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. And like I said, it's still something that we're working on. We're not going to be done for a while. I don't know if we'll ever be done, but we're not going to be to a spot where we feel like we have an adequate amount of jobs and that we're not considered a bedroom community any longer for a little bit. We've got more work to do. But between all of the fast pitch events that we have with the entrepreneurs, trying to grow our own businesses, trying to entice, we lose a lot of people every day that commute out to Orange County and San Diego counties. I get a little excited, honestly, probably one of the only people on this planet that get a little excited when gas prices start to go up. Because I need to get the attention of San Diego and Orange County to say, why do you have all of your employees coming from this area and driving so far out to there? Why not open an office here? And, when times are good and gas prices are low, it's harder to get that attention. So I get a little bit excited when the gas prices start going up. I don't like paying them myself, but from my job standpoint and economic development standpoint, I get a little bit excited because once there is a pain and once if you're in Orange County and your employees are coming to you saying, the commute is really starting to get me. I think I need a raise because I can't really afford the gas and the fast track and all of the things. Now you as an employer have a little bit of a pain point that you need to start considering a different option. And then that's where, Wildomar, Murrieta, Temecula, Lake Elsinore, and Menifee would love to just step in and say, we got you. So yeah,
that's something I noticed that's I think unique from my experience in that you and your team work not only in Wildomar, but you're integrated as the whole valley into it
as a region.
Really wonderful.
It is. We talk a lot. During the pandemic, we would meet on Zoom weekly and brainstorm. So that would be the economic development directors for Murrieta, Temecula, Menifee, Lake Elsinore, and Wildomar, of course, and the county. Rob Moran from the county would very often be on the call as well. And Patrick with the Murrieta Wildomar Chamber would be on there. And we would meet weekly just trying to brainstorm and understand what each of us are trying to do to save our businesses during that time and brainstorm about how we could do better and make sure that what one was doing, we were all doing, and, especially if it was working. And I think that's what you saw around our valley is a really strong collaboration. And it didn't hurt at all that, guess what? Everyone was sort of sent home, not able to commute. What a concept, right? So our businesses, our restaurants, even though it was takeout, they survived. We lost very few businesses during that time.
Yeah, I think the Temecula Valley area did a stellar job. I traveled around a bit, seeing different places up in like Northern California, up in Oregon, up in Nevada, and in Arizona. And it was always nice coming home because it was intelligently handled, I think.
Yeah, I think
there was a nice balance.
Yeah, I think we did about as good as we could have done during that scenario. I don't have too many moments where I think, gee, I wish we would have, or, I feel like we handled it pretty well, all 5 cities in the county.
Yeah.
But, if anybody listening to this podcast hasn't been connected to a chamber, doesn't feel like they're part of a business community, then I would strongly encourage them to get involved, especially down here in this area. We have a very, very strong business community here. The ones that are involved, I wouldn't say that we don't have 100% of the businesses involved, but we have a fair share of the businesses involved. And the ones who are involved, it's a very strong friendship among people, and everybody supports each other's businesses here. And it really, for me, I've always belonged to the Murrieta Chamber, now the Murrieta Wildomar Chamber. That is my family, my business family. But that's not to say that the other chambers aren't equally as good. You just have to find the one that speaks to you and what you're doing. But if you own a business and you really feel like you're just out there on your own and haven't found that business family and a group of people that will support you and will circle the wagons around you. I've seen too in this area. Boy, you have some bad business practices, and we have run those people out of town faster than anything. And what a good feeling that is too, because what a great valley of really good, sincere business owners that we have here. And I'm telling you, if you have bad business practices, it's not tolerated for long. You don't get away with much. And those people have been run out of town. And that's a great thing for the consumer. That's a great thing for our business owners. So if you don't feel like you have that, and you don't even know what I'm talking about, you're like, this girl is completely nuts. Go down to your local chamber and start getting involved, and then call me and tell me that I'm wrong. Because we do have a great community of business owners, business resources, just a lot going on here to help you with your business. And if you're not connected, you really should be.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you see as the future? What's your vision for Temecula? What kind of businesses are you looking to attract here?
So recently I went on a trip up to Napa wine country. You know, first of all, we've been working here in Southwest Riverside County for 20 plus years to try to brand this region. And we've had a hard time with that, because how do you take Temecula, Murrieta, Lake Elsinore, Wildomar, Menifee, and sometimes Canyon Lake, sometimes they join us too, and brand it as one? It's not easy to do, because each city kind of has its own identity and its own maybe focus or vision for the future, or what they're about. You know, Temecula obviously very much into tourism in the wine country and pachanga and that sort of thing. Murrieta, life sciences. Wildomar, we're 14 years old along with Menifee, so I think we're still trying to figure out who we are. You know, we're only teenagers ourselves. And then Lake Elsinore with the extreme sports. So how do you combine that into one nice sentence or package when we're trying to promote the area? We've always struggled with that. Well, recently I went up to Napa Valley on a trip, and noticed that Napa Valley is basically made up of about 5 different cities that are outlined by wineries that are out in the county.
Yeah.
Sounds sort of familiar.
Yeah, it does.
So at the City of Wildomar, we're going to be taking more of a tack of joining more alongside Temecula and the Temecula Visitors Bureau and the wineries, and really promoting ourselves as part of wine country. Because very much like Oakville or Yountville in Napa, we have a lot to offer too. And so to that respect, as far as Wildomar is concerned, we're going to be going after more wine tasting rooms. We really want to combine. We still have a lot of land, and we're going through a general plan update, and we're working on ways that we can combine industrial and retail. For all the people in my business right now are going, what? You can't combine industrial and retail. But no, we really want to figure out how we might be able to do that to really encourage microbreweries and wineries and, you know, wine tasting rooms and microbrew tasting rooms and distilleries and all of that sort of thing that really creates a different type of environment and really helps to promote our wine country in Temecula Valley. And how can we, I mean, we already, just like Yountville, okay, Yountville has French Laundry and Restoration Hardware, but we have Angelo's and Tricino's and Finch and the Hive, excellent restaurants. So how can we're never going to be exactly Napa Valley, but how can we take kind of that model and make it our own for our valley? And what does that mean for us? But that's what we're seeing right now in Wildomar. We're working on our first hotel. You know, and each city is working on a different aspect. Murrieta is doing a great job with their innovation center and all of the life science startups that are coming out of that. What great opportunity. All of those life science, high-end, well-educated people are going to need somewhere great to go to eat. They need wine tasting rooms that, you know, so it all flows. And I'll tell you, like when I was in Corona, one of the things that really helped to pull together my tech community up in Corona was we had something called Techo Tuesday at a local brewery.
That's great.
And you need those. It sounds It may sound silly if you don't know, but you need those types of meeting areas to entice those types of people. So if Corona hadn't had a decent, excuse me, a decent, what's the word I want? Density, I guess you might say, of microbreweries, it's hard to attract those type of techie people. They love those microbreweries. So we really want to make sure that we're putting in place a lot of the things around our valley that entice the right type of businesses to locate here.
But too, we've
like
got there's great golf, there's microbreweries. We've got the equestrian world is very well developed and it's very well respected worldwide, from my experience. Yeah,
absolutely.
So the wineries, of course, when I was in China, I saw a bottle of Callaway in a store in China. So I mean, we're definitely got a footprint in the world.
Absolutely. The Asian markets love our Temecula wine. They absolutely love the wine. And yeah, Temecula Valley wine country is internationally known.
Yeah.
And again, we'll never be Napa. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say we'll be.
Do we want to be?
But I'm saying, right. I'm saying, how can we take that model? You know, for years we were looking at Silicon Valley and going, how do we take that model and make that us? Well, that's never really worked. So maybe we need a different model. And I'm telling you, when I was up in Napa, it just hit me like a ton of bricks that we have all of the same ingredients that Napa had, and it will be our own ingredients. But that's what we're really going to be working on with Wildomar, is really trying to, we are making some areas for industrial. We want to encourage some high-end manufacturers, some high-end jobs. We really want our people to be able to live, work, and play in town, but also creating some of those areas of experience retail, maybe a wine and beer garden in Wildomar, different things that just allow you to go relax, have a sense of community, gather with your friends, gather with your family, have an outdoor experience. We're encouraging a lot of outdoor because thanks to the pandemic, we need to think in terms of that, make sure our businesses don't have a need to be shut down, you know, so a lot of outdoor experience. So those are things that we're working on with Wildomar. I know that my sister cities are working on a lot of the similar things, and bringing jobs. I would think if you had all 5 of us, and probably including the county of Riverside, what's the number one thing we've all been working on? Bringing jobs, bringing more jobs. But the more jobs we bring, we also need to create, like I said, those areas of community and those areas to congregate and be able to have that fellowship, and the mixers and I mean, look, the chamber is almost out of places to have mixers and breakfast because we've grown out of everything, you know, so we really need to make a push to get more of those types of venues, because they are important for people to be able to meet and have fellowship.
Yeah. And I love if it's at all possible for us to keep that small town feel, you know, keep that friendliness and the camaraderie of, you know, being in a small town is wonderful. And that's a flavor that as places grow, they kind of lose sometimes. But I think with leaders like yourself, making that vision happen and bringing it into reality, I think we've got a really good shot at making it a really beautiful place for the next 100 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, thank you very much for your time. Our time's about up today. What I've seen, we started our conversation, you said, I believe that you weren't sure what leadership was and that if you were a good leader or not. But from what I learned today, listening to you and having this conversation, is that you are a leader because because of your passion and your energy and your true heart for serving and coming up with ideas and being able to stretch and put those ideas out and be bold in sharing those ideas and taking whatever criticism comes back as positive and listening to it and working together in a community and as a team to create a better solution. And to me, that's beautiful. So I've got chills right now just thinking about it. It was a wonderful conversation. And thank you so much,
Thank you.
Kimberly, for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. We'll see you soon.
Okay.